The League of Women Voters of Lincoln County, Oregon hosts the Lincoln County Commissioners Forum, moderated by our member, Jean Cowan.
This is the League of Women Voters of Lincoln County's Candidate Forum, and we are about to hear from the candidates for position 3 on the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. So with our 1-minute opening statements, and I asked everyone else's permission to call you by your first names. It makes it simpler. You're welcome to call me Jean. If anyone has no objections.
You'll always be Jean.
Good, thank you. Much simpler. We will begin with Katie for our 1-minute opening statement.
All right, good evening. I want to thank the Lincoln County League of Women Voters for their continuing work on voter education and hosting tonight's candidate forum. I'm Katie Jacobson. I'm the incumbent, and I'm running for a second term for Lincoln County Commissioner position 3. Mark, can you mute yourself? I hear someone talking. I don't know who that was. I have served as a commissioner for a little over 3 years, and what has arguably been maybe the most challenging 3 years our community has seen. And I have provided responsive, skilled leadership during this time, taking on major leadership roles in wildfire recovery, natural resources, COVID response, childcare, and housing. I am running for a second term as I feel the community still needs me and in my role, and I have things I've put in motion that I would like to complete. As a commissioner, skills matter. The skills you have is what you bring to the table as a commissioner. In my second term, I want to continue work on grant writing and program development, and plan on improve our housing efforts through existing funds. And we'll talk more about that later. Thank you.
Yes, you will. And I will never cut someone off mid-sentence, so please finish your thoughts. All right, let's move now to Randy with your opening statement. Randy, you need to unmute.
All right, can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks for your help along the way. I'm first and foremost, I'm a father. I'm a longtime resident here. I own a business. I think we've all seen a lot of challenges over the last few years, and I think much of that could have been handled better. I'm running to offer a choice to the voters. I'm a true independent, not a Republican or a Democrat. I believe extremism on both sides of the aisle is a problem. And I believe most people are in the middle, more like myself. And I'm running to try to help. That's basically why I'm running. I was asked to run. I care about this community. Like I said, I have kids I'm raising here. And I really want this place to be as great as it was when I was young. And I think there are several challenges we have to overcome. And I think with proper leadership, we can get there. I don't pretend to be an expert. This is my first foray into politics. I'm not a politician. I'm just a regular guy. You know, I just care about the community. I'll do my best.
Thank you. Ryan.
Thanks, Jean, and to the League of Women Voters. And thanks, Jean, again for your service to the county and to the state during your career. I'm a lifelong Oregonian, but I'll premise that by saying I was born at Fort Lewis because my dad was in the Air Force, and I moved to Oregon when I was 3. So I guess that pushes me over the line of being a lifelong Oregonian. So my mom was an elementary school teacher, and I grew up in Northern Oregon. I have 2 7th graders at Newport Middle School. So I'm a working guy. I'm a family-oriented person. And I'm running basically to help the working people. If you got blisters on your hands, I'll have a beer with you, or a cup of coffee, or anything but kombucha. I'm an earnest, honest public servant in my role as a park ranger with the state. I have a lot to lose going for this commissioner race, but the county has a lot to gain from my experience. Our workforce is challenged. They're challenged by classism from wealthy elites, the condition of housing and housing affordability. And I want to create a vision for the county to keep profits local, help the county.
Ryan, we'll get to all of them.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Mark?
Hi, Gene. It's good to see everybody. I got to tell you, when we hit 100 participants, I absolutely just was so excited because we started out with 30 and then we got to 50 and I was like, come on, let's get 100. And that's one of my goals, is to get the public back into the governance of their own community. I am running because I just don't like the direction of some of the decisions that our Board of Commissioners have made. This is our home, and my pledge to our voters and to our constituents, to everybody in this county, is to bring an element, an environment of excellence and trust throughout the entire courthouse. So first of all, I want to acknowledge, if there's any veterans that are on here that are listening and are participants, I want to acknowledge your sacrifice and your service to our country. And Gene, thank you so much for the League of Women Voters. And in 1920, it was established by Emma DeVoe. And that preluded the 19th Amendment to have women vote. I have worked with you and all of our excellent women in our community. I'm excited to get to work. There's a lot of challenges facing our county. And as was mentioned in the first group, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. However, if there is not an element of trust and respect throughout the entire department from the bottom up, not much is going to get done. So I'm excited to be here tonight.
Okay. All right, let's move to the first question, and we will now have, you'll have 2 minutes, so I won't cut you off so quickly. The first question, and as we go along, if you need me to repeat it, I will. We are going to begin with Ryan. The question is, what do you see as the primary responsibilities and time commitment for the county commissioner position? Please describe your personal background and experience which qualifies you to fulfill these responsibilities. Ryan, go
Well,
ahead.
honoring the public trust, what the public wants from the county is direct services. They want our roads in good condition. They want direct services, and they want us to advocate on their behalf. They want to have us help them create affordability so that we can have a workforce, and that workforce can thrive and not have to commute from other places in the state to work and live here. I'm going to advocate to change the way the commission is structured and create it part-time with a stipend and lower our tax base and our tax burden on our people. It'll ease our PERS burden that we pay to the state. And we need to lobby in Salem, because Salem does not tend to listen to rural communities. Our rural communities are struggling, and they do not have parity with urban areas with higher tax bases. We need to support the people that live in this county and let Salem know that they need to listen to our needs and collaborate and build a coalition of people that are focused on direct services to the people that live in Lincoln County. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Mark. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, Gene.
What do you see as the primary responsibilities and time commitment of the county commission position? Please describe your personal background and experience which qualifies you to fulfill these responsibilities.
It's a great question. There is no time commitment. If you're going to be in public service, time should not be an issue. We're coming out of a serious pandemic. It's time to get to work. So to directly answer your question, the job responsibilities of the county commissioners are directly to make sure that the elected officials, the department heads, the sheriff, the DA's office, the assessor's office, the treasurer, and the clerk, those are the elected officials. Those people have a responsibility to run all their department heads. So first and foremost, our responsibility as a commissioner is to make sure that their departments are fully funded, they're fully staffed, they have all the tools necessary to run their departments efficiently throughout the entire county. That first and foremost is the job responsibility of the county. Now, having said that, we need to understand the problems come from the ground up. I plan on getting in squad cars, or I'm sorry, deputy patrol vehicles. I'm going to ride with the cops. I want to know what the problems are facing the streets. I'm going to go in the assessor's office and walk around with Joe and find out what he really does. I'm going to work with the treasurer, and I need to find out what they do and what the problems that they are facing so we can handle them. And that cycles throughout the entire community as their responsibility to the taxpayers is efficient, and all the problems are met within those department heads. That's the primary responsibility of the Board of Commissioners. If you're going to punch a time clock and you're going to serve the public I would suggest that you find something else. I've been a captain of our search and rescue team for 14 years. When we go out on a mission, there is no time clock. We work until the job is done. So that is my direct answer. And I appreciate that question, Gene.
Thank you. Randy, would you like me to repeat the question?
Hi. No, I think I got it very well. Thank you. Well, I believe the primary role of the commissioner is to look out for every individual in the county, to do our very best to help them prosper. I don't want people to struggle. So whenever we can help people in that way, that's a good thing. And the way the county commissioners do that is much like what Mark had just said. I plan to work with all of the department heads, develop close relationships with them, see what they need, what they're excelling at, and where the holes in their programs are, and how I can help them do their jobs to their fullest potential, which would only help more people. And then on top of that, I believe that the county commissioner's role is, we play a vital role in the communication between federal agencies, what the cities in the county may need, and with the state. So it's imperative that we develop good working relationships with those people, and we work closely with them to facilitate and help the people in our county and our communities get the things they need, whether it's businesses, whether it's schooling, whether it's the police. There are a lot of things that, so much like Mark said, I hadn't planned on riding around in a car, but I definitely plan on talking to the sheriff and seeing what he would need and how I could best help him. We definitely want, just for example, I think we want the good people in our communities to be respected and protected. And I believe we want the criminals to be arrested and prosecuted. So to do that, I need to know how I can help them better. I'd sit down with our DA, and she's clearly having some issues or some things going on with her and the current commissioners, whatever. But I would sit down with her and see, how can I help you do your job better? I think we all, for me, there was a case last year where somebody stole a van from Worldmark and then were released later that day or the next day with no bail. And then they went and stole a car 10 minutes later and drove through Newport at 90 miles an hour. I think that threatened everybody in the community. And so somewhere there's a breakdown there, whether it's the DA failing to prosecute. I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Thank you very much. All right. And Katie, would you like me to repeat the question?
I would, thank you.
What do you see or know as the primary responsibilities and time commitment of the county commission position? And please describe your personal background and experiences that qualify you to fulfill these responsibilities.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I'll start with the time commitment. The time commitment is exhaustive. This is my full-time plus job. I left my career at OSU that I'd been with for 15 years to come and take this job. It needs to be every candidate's full-time plus job. There really is no off. You are on all the time, whether you are at the office, in the community, or at the grocery store, you are always on. And even when you are off, like when I am somewhere on the weekend, I always have to have staff know where I am in case we have an emergency and you need 2 commissioners to file that emergency and make an emergency declaration. So there is no off. As for major responsibilities, budget is one of those major responsibilities, but also you are an administrator. You have 500 plus employees that work for you. And so making sure that you are an advocate for those employees internally, that you are the cheerleader, that you are cheering on those employees when they do great stuff, and making sure that the services we provide are accessible to the whole community. Externally, also a cheerleader for our nonprofits and all of our other groups doing great work. And also making sure that you are advocating for our community with our state and federal elected officials. Background and experience, I worked for Oregon State University and Oregon Sea Grant for 15 years. I work with the commercial fishing industry. My background is in grant writing, program development, program management. I'm also a professional facilitator and conflict resolution specialist, and also do a lot of marine policy work. These are skills that I have directly brought into being a commissioner. So for me, a responsibility that others don't have is I write grants and create programs.
Thank you. I was once asked why I left the Board of Commissioners after 12 years, and it might be that full-time, never a moment off to yourself.
Exhausted, yeah.
Okay, let's move to question 2, and this time we'll begin with Randy. And the question is, please address your ideas on better ways to address our challenges around housing affordability, the provision of social services, and meeting the needs of the homeless population.
Okay. Well, I guess I could probably best explain last couple of years ago when the Lincoln City was looking towards the homeless shelter in town. I was opposed to the idea, and I explained why. It's not because I don't want to help the homeless, but I see that sort of help as a circular revolving door. They were not really integrating, you know, all that many people, it doesn't seem like, back into society successfully. My idea there, my idea is you have to kind of think outside the box, right? Well, in Lincoln City, the city owns a bunch of land that's already plumbed and has roads and all of that stuff. My idea for that was to build small homes, have the city build small homes there and offer those homes for people to buy who are in, you know, Section 8 housing now. So we would give them the chance at home ownership, and they would build equity into their homes. And if they, say 5-10 years later, wanted to sell the home, the city would have the first right to buy it back. And then they would be able to buy the home back for fair market value. The person who was living there would realize home ownership and the value there and all those responsibilities. And it would free up a Section 8, an existing apartment that's Section 8 already. I think that would have been a great way to go, because then it would have also, you know, allowed homeless people to move into an apartment and start a life rather than living at the shelter. And so you pick the best candidates to do that with. And then, you know, beyond that, I think we have to get with, it's such a complex issue. There's so many reasons why people end up on the streets. And for a lot of people in our area, you know, it's paycheck to paycheck. It's triaging bills. And, you know, many of us are one missed paycheck away from that same situation, you know. So a lot of people think it's just the drugs and the alcohol abuse and that sort of thing. You have to have some compassion for the people that are there and really don't want to be. There's not much you can do to help people who don't want that help, but you have to. So I'm not an expert in it, but I'll get with the people who are, and we'll devise a good plan.
Complex question.
Yeah.
Okay, moving to Katie. Would you like me to repeat all of that?
Sorry, but yes, I would. Thank you.
Please address your ideas on better ways to address our challenges around housing affordability, the provision of social services, and meeting the needs of our homeless population.
Okay, thank you. So as for housing affordability, I think it's a very wicked issue and you just attack it every way you can. So I think the biggest opportunity we have right now is because we did go through a major wildfire. I did write grants for technical assistance, and we are receiving that technical assistance to help us hopefully execute our 2019 housing plan that we had completed. Additionally, we have several tiny home villages going in North Lincoln County. And while those are for survivors, it is increased capacity for our housing stock, as well as housing credits that I chased from the federal government to the state government to Lincoln County Housing Authority for fixed income housing. I also work on the Department of Land Conservation and Development Commission and work on increased housing density inside cities, which is where we have city services like water and sewer, which you can do increased density on. It's hard to do in unincorporated parts of the county. A couple of things. Provision of social services. I think we first need to recognize how difficult this has been for our social service workers and our mental health workers over the past 3 years. They have just gotten hammered. It's been very difficult. I'm working with public health right now on sort of a grow your own mental health worker program. So trying to not just retain the ones we have and provide training so that they can move up into higher levels of mental health through us providing the training. And then hopefully we can do community training to train at a basic level. And then we have more of a pool to recruit from in the future. And this is a tactic that we've used with teachers and some other things. As for meeting the needs of homeless, one of the major things I have done is to start taking more children in our juvenile department. We also take kids 18 to 20. And so that department has turned in from being more punitive into being a homeless shelter for kids. I think additionally, we need to bolster our nonprofits. And I've already started doing that through capacity building for nonprofits that receive grants from the county so that they have increased capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mark, would you like me to repeat it?
Thank you, Jean. Yes, please.
Please address your ideas on better ways to address our challenges around housing affordability, the provision of social services, and meeting the needs of our homeless population.
I'll go as fast as I can. So I really think that we need to, and it's a humanitarian issue. It's an issue of the heart. Okay, it's an empathetic and a compassionate issue that everybody needs to be involved, from our faith-based organizations to networking to the nonprofit organizations. Everybody needs to get involved in this. And that is where, as a county commissioner, we can really rally the troops and say, listen, these people need us. They need our help. So one of the things that we really need to do, or I would do, is I would really work on expanding our urban growth boundary. And I would work hand in hand with each individual city planner to really look at the plot maps, to really look at areas that we can develop, that are undevelopable, that we can develop. We have 82% of our property in our county is owned by private, state, and federal land. That does not leave us a lot of land to develop. We have got to take a look at every single opportunity to develop our land. There's just been in the Democratic House that's come out in February, I believe, there's $20 million that's been established directly to improve the access for housing. I'm going to go to Salem and I'm going to knock on those doors and I'm going to get some of that money into our county and we're going to use it because it's got to come down from the state level. We can't do it on our own. We're a small county of 50,000 people. This is a huge issue that cycles all the way down to the expansion of our business growth, the economic growth. If we're going to expand business, we got to have somewhere to put them. The homeless issue, again, I want to network with and develop mentorship programs with our churches, with our nonprofit organizations. We need everybody involved, do roundtables, come up with a solution. I think I've covered everything. I know there's one thing that I did forget, and that's a complicated issue that deserves more than 2 minutes to talk about. But this is an issue of the heart that everybody needs to be involved in, friends.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. And closing this round out with Ryan, would you like me to repeat it?
No, thanks. I got it. I've heard some great ideas. I just wanted to do a shout out to Carter thanks for making me feel old. And I'm going to venture forth here. I think we need to expand our harm reduction part of the county social services. I think that does a lot of good in the community. And the data nationwide with harm reduction shows that it can help the unhoused population a lot. I think we need to honor our voters and support whatever decision LUBA makes for STRs. I think we need to look at building different models of housing, making the zoning more developer friendly, and have Lincoln County Housing Authority add more units wherever they can fit them in. The San Antonio model, where they created a services campus for those who want them and get out of the transient lifestyle that they find themselves in, we can push for a smaller scale fundable version of that here. Private companies and corporations need to start to build their own workforce housing. Public-private partnerships are the future here, considering our limited land. Personal responsibility. I do clean up a lot of transient camps at work, and there is a marked environmental impact to that. And I really want to do is, with all these issues, coalitions, not peeing on toes or grudge match politics, but honest, earnest nonpartisan efforts around the county to help everyone as much as the tax base can support and as much as our time allows us to accomplish these tasks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our third question, and this round begin with Mark. The question is, what are the primary driving economic forces in Lincoln County, and how would you balance the economic forces with maintaining quality of life for Lincoln County residents?
Well, obviously, our community is centered around fishing and tourism and the timber industry. The quality of life, that's one of the reasons why so many people want to live here. It's beautiful. I came here in 1981, settled my family down here, and never left. And it was just a wonderful place for my kids to go to the schools, to be, I was a part of the schools. I coached golf. This is what we do. We all give back to the community because it's such a beautiful place to live. So number one, our fishing community is, I'm kind of concerned about our fishing community right now because I've been spending lots of time on the BOEM website. If you're not sure, the BOEM is the Bureau of Ocean and Energy Management. It's a strong arm of the government. They're going to come in and take over 2,000 square miles of fishing industry that's going to go from the north border clear down to the south border. They're planning on bringing in windmills. I'm very, very concerned about that. We need a strong voice to protect our fishing grounds. My friends down in the Bayfront have been fishing those grounds long before the Department of Interior was ever designed. So I'm very, very concerned about that. Our timber industry seems to be healthy. I sure missed the timber tax, but the timber industry seems to be doing okay. I know timber prices are high, but the tourist industry is always going to be here. And I think as a county commissioner, I want to look at opportunities to grow our economy, not completely around tourism. That's solid. And if we can find places to live, there's opportunities for small scale manufacturing that I want to see here. I'm from Michigan. We have manufacturing plants all over the place throughout our industry. We can have small scale manufacturing to create good jobs. Georgia Pacific, a wonderful place to work. I want to work hand in hand with GP to get people over there. Those are great jobs. I want to do remote working. I want to do work on digital software companies. So there's a lot of expansion here, but if we can't find a place for these people to live, it's not going to do any good. So that is the number one issue. We've got to create places to live for our workforce.
Thank you. Ryan, would you like me to repeat that question?
No, ma'am, I got it. I've been tuning in to all these great ideas and strategies, and I think a lot of them definitely have merit. I think the county needs to advocate for a prevailing wage. If we already know the wages that are paid in a lot of industries in this county don't meet even the market or sub-market rents, and no workforce, no economy. I think that's something people need to look in the mirror and tell themselves on a daily basis. I don't see a lot of advocacy, but if elected, I would push for a journeyman program, expand the port training program, expand the welding program at the college. Every industry needs good future workforces, and I agree with Walter. I think we need to create a system that makes our kids want to thrive here without having to leave. Obviously, leaving, they have world experiences, and that's fine, but we need a younger, more vibrant workforce here to support the other industries that people have already mentioned. Journeyman, vocational skills, really ramp that up at the school district level and create our future workforce. Bolster our research hub at Hatfield, but we need water storage, we need water supply for growth, and we need to work on that ASAP. And we also need to comp locals for the tourism impacts they experience during the peak tourism season. And that's where reforming the tourism tax law to allow infrastructural improvements with that tourism tax and tweak the timber tax to make our budget more solvent in the county and to create future opportunities for amenities that the locals that live here in Lincoln County can enjoy year round. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie, you're up next.
Could you repeat the question? Thank you.
Certainly. What are the primary driving economic forces in Lincoln County, and how would you balance the economic forces with maintaining quality of life for our citizens?
Yes, I think as Casey Miller mentioned earlier, the actual primary driving force in Lincoln County is transfers, or people actually coming here to live and bringing their money with them, which means we need elderly care here because we have an aging population that is moving to our community to live here to retire. And we are really struggling with the workforce with that right now. And this is linked to the fact that minimum wage from large corporations like Walmart or McDonald's has increased so much. And elderly care is very difficult work. And so people now are kind of jumping ship over into the service industry with that larger minimum wage. Pulled up with inflation, but we are in need of more elderly care services and residences, because that is one of our largest sectors. The next largest earned income identified sector is the fishing industry. As I spoke previously, I'd worked with them for 15 years. And recently funded an improved economic development study specific to fishing in Lincoln County, so that we have better numbers to understand what is happening in that very important industry. But beyond the dollars that they provide, I think it's really important to understand that they are part of our culture and who we are, and that they are also linked to our third largest earned income sector, which is tourism. And by a destination development study, we know that one of the reasons people come to Newport is because we are a working fleet. And so fishing is also tied to tourism. I also want to say that when we recently updated our economic development study, marine research actually showed up for the first time as its own earned income sector and as about 3.5%. And so that is telling me that there is certainly room for growth there, and that too is connected to commercial fishing and tourism and some other things.
Thank you. Randy, if you could finish out this segment, would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
What are the primary driving economic forces in Lincoln County? And how would you balance those economic forces with maintaining the quality of life here?
Okay. Well, the first portion of that, it almost feels like we're all cheating here, because Casey gave a great answer earlier, and he even outlined the transfers. And so, I mean, it really almost feels like cheating to just list what he said, because he's absolutely right. Most of us around here know, though, that the tourism, fishing and timber, but the tourism for me is probably the biggest one, because of all that it trickles into: the hotels, the restaurants, which keeps average citizens or everyday people here employed and able to survive. And all of that, when you talk about quality of life, especially in our area, and I think you'd find this to be true for most, all of that, especially for us, hinges on our environment. As great of people as we all might be, tourists don't come here to say hi to us. They come here to look at the beaches. They come here because we have this natural wonderland here. And it's why most of us, if we weren't born here, it's why most of us end up coming here, and maybe like my mom did in the 80s on our honeymoon, and just fell in love with the area. So she bought a piece of land in Rhodes End and later retired there. For me personally, things we have to do to make things better here and go forward. When I was young, I was 21, I had to leave the area. This was back in the early mid 90s. And you might remember there really was no college to speak of. The educational opportunities were null and void. Since then, I used to have to go from Lincoln City to Newport to take classes in a building there that I really wouldn't call a educational campus, but it's what we had. Since then, we do now have a community college. I think that's super important. And I also think security. If our streets are overrun with crime, like the police in LA just announced a few weeks back, don't come to our city, we can't guarantee your safety. That's awful. Not only does it destroy tourism, but if that's the situation people are stuck living in, that does nothing for quality of life. So I think yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving to our last question, and this one we will lead off with Ryan. The question is, in your opinion, what is the #1 most critical issue that will require the commissioner's immediate attention?
Well, I would say that's jamming a lot of stuff into one question. But if it's me in the hot seat, I think affordable housing and image control for the Board of Commissioners are very important. I think the STR issue is very contentious, as Mitch mentioned earlier. Fire prevention hasn't been discussed, but we can't have a vibrant county if it's on fire. Some of my friends have lost their homes up on Highland Heights Road there, and they've been struggling for years, and they're just thankfully, very thankfully rebuilding their home right now. But it took the wind out of a lot of people's sails. Most people's homes is their only source of capital. And we noticed that we're having a hard time keeping water in the pipes in the summer for the fish processors. And we need to get a county-wide effort to get that the dam impoundment at Big Creek raised, so we have water for our fishing industry and for seafood processors. So we have water in the pipes for residents, so people's wells don't go dry and have to get charged in their cisterns all summer. The future workforce, the people need relief, they need honesty, and we need to give it to them. And I think best practices, good governance, honesty, and transparency are going to get us there. But there's not just one, but those just float right to the top.
Okay, thank you. Randy, let's go next to you. What do you consider the #1 most critical issue that will require the commissioner's immediate attention?
Well, that is a tough question, actually, and this is the second time I've heard it tonight. It's still a tough question, and it's not because I'm struggling to find an issue, it's that there are several, and so to pick which one. The STRs, as Mitch said earlier, I was asked about that by another group, and my answer is pretty simple. To me, the only issue there is how to implement the will of the voters. The commissioners, they could have done something if they wanted to for years and years and years. And, they finally put it to the ballot, said, okay, you guys decide. And the voters did. So to me, that's not as much of a pressing issue because it's already a done deal, in my opinion. We're going to implement the will of the voters. It's just a matter of how you do that. So for me, I guess, maybe being a father, I'm really, I want our schools to perform better. I think, our children deserve that. And when we look at the performance of schools in Lincoln County, it's quite honestly, it's abysmal. Now, I'm not trying to knock the teachers or there's something wrong, and I know we can do better. So again, not being an expert in education, I would have to sit down and get with the people that are experts in that field, and I'd have to see what we could do to help them. I really want us to be safe and successful at school. And it's so important for the future of our children that they get a good education, that they have those, ability to read and write and do math, and otherwise they're stuck. They won't be able to come back if they go off to college. How are they going to go off to college if they can't pass an entrance exam? So I think that, and again, the only other one there really for me that's pressing would be the crime. I think, however, we have to get with the DA and find out why people are, it almost feels like a circular door at this point. People get arrested, or even if they're homeless, they're not arrested, even when they're making threats to people and being dangerous to people.
Thank you.
We, the citizens, deserve that. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Mark, what do you think is the most critical issue that will demand immediate attention?
Well, thanks. That's a good question, Gene. And I'm going to kind of stick my neck out here a little bit. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that we had a serious issue with a lack of trust, transparency, and it is like Ryan said, we have an image problem in our courthouse. There's been many, many decisions in the last 3 years that have been really a head scratcher to me. We have significant money in our budget. We can always use more, but we have enough to get us through this crisis and the pandemic and the fire. The state is flush with money right now. So the direction our current Board of Commissioners has taken, I'm not happy with. For an example, they've given themselves 2 raises in the last 4 years. I've been really watching very carefully the Board of Commissioners and the Budget Committee meetings, and everything is cut this, cut that, cut this, cut that. And all of a sudden they hire, right or wrong, they hire a manager, in my opinion, to do the job that the commissioner should be doing. Now, I want to give this guy time, but I wish that they would have hired a professional grant writer so everybody, the mayors in Walport, the mayors in Celeste, everybody could have access to this grant writer. In the business world, there's an economic term called ROI, return on investment. I'm very hopeful that our new county administrator is going to return a lot of investment back to our county. So there's been a lot of decisions that our current Board of Commissioners has done. The level of distrust through the department heads all the way down to the county commissioners is very evident. And I, quite frankly, I don't like it, and I'm going to change it. Those of you that know me, know my work ethic, know my integrity. Those of you that don't, ask those of you that do, because there's been a lot of decisions that I just don't understand, and I want to find out.
Thank you. And Katie, we'll close with you on this question.
Thank you. I will say that this question scares me a little bit because back in 2018, when I first campaigned, no one asked me what I would do in a major worldwide pandemic or my experience in wildfire recovery. So I'm hoping this, I'm gonna knock on wood and hope this is not a sign of something else bad to happen to us. But beyond that, I would say that I'm a believer in the concept of a wicked problem, and which is a research term meaning that there is no single one problem, that most of the problems our society faces are thorny and interdimensional. And for an example, housing is connected to our economy, which is connected to our workforce, which is connected to childcare. Housing is connected to our economy, which is connected to our environment, which is connected to climate change. And so there is no one single issue. These things are connected together. And you have to take a multi-dimensional approach to deal with those things. So for example, I'm working on co-location of affordable housing with childcare, where it's close to services. I have Lincoln County on a list to hopefully be a pilot project for that. Also making fishing regulations more adaptable across state lines, so that as fish populations move with climate change to more inhabitable environments, that fishermen can more easily fish across those boundaries with their permits, making things more flexible, which would make them more adaptable to climate change and help us keep our economy intact. So again, I feel like there is no singular greatest issue. There's many different, those things are interconnected, and you need interconnected solutions to work on those things. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We will move now to your 1 minute closing statements. And I didn't map out for myself who would begin. So let's just turn it around from the opening statements. Begin with Mark.
Thank you, Jean. Again, friends, I'm very concerned about what's going on down in our courthouse. This issue with our district attorney should have never happened. You have a 23-and-a-half-year exemplary employee that was given a letter of a congratulation letter, welcome to your new position, only to find out that that position was rescinded and changed. You do your due diligence before you do that. Anything that prohibits law enforcement, my sheriff's office and the district office, because that in turn, like Randy said, it's a safety issue. We want a safe environment. We want a safe community, and anything that deters the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office, I'm going to say something. I'm going to make changes. I'm going to make sure that they are fully funded. They have all the tools necessary to keep our cities and our counties safe. Thank you, Jean. I appreciate this opportunity so much in the League of Women Voters. It's great to see everybody and hear all these wonderful ideas. It's a collaborative effort, but I am ready to go to work. So I would appreciate your vote on May 17th. And let's make some changes down at the courthouse. Thanks again, Jean.
Thank you. Ryan.
Thanks, Jean, and everyone for your time and earnest effort to improve things for everyone in Lincoln County. I think that speaks volumes about everyone's character. I spent a lot of my work time on the marine debris issue, and I'd consider myself somewhat of a subject matter expert. And the fleet is a huge economic driver in this community, but Plastic pollution is an external skeleton in the closet that we need to fund more research through the hub that exists, expand the number of labs, and learn to help the fleet through data and best practices to make sure that they can continue to lead the world seafood industry in their sustainable practices. I'm all on board with that. We need to work on housing. We need to get those starts going. And we need to make our county's forests healthier. We need niche markets for our timber that will help small woodlot owners and the larger companies make more money, but have a lower environmental footprint. I'm ready to do that on day one. I care about my kids. I care about their generation's future. And I want to make life for working families and people with their blisters on their hands, like myself, be able to make it here and hang their shingle and be successful in an environment where they have access to clean water, clean air, and a sense of community. And I've been inspired tonight to hear all the great ideas. And a lot of us want to work towards a more resilient community where we can all thrive. Thank you for your time. And please do vote for whichever candidate you support on May 17th. Historically, primary turnout has been low. Let's make that ancient history and get everyone involved. Thank you.
Okay, we'll count that the League of Women Voters push for everyone voting.
Well said, Ryan.
Randy, go ahead with your statement.
All right, thank you very much. As I said before, you know, I'm not a politician. I'm just a concerned citizen. You know, again, we came here in the early 90s, you know, my family and I, so I wasn't born here. Some people have deeper roots than that, but I've been here for a long time. My mom is buried here on the hill right by Spanish Head, and my children were born here in the hospital. I want to see this community prosper. I think the county can do much better, and I am concerned with the direction things are going. I may be the one candidate, I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm a little different. I've actually been asked to run by both Republicans and Democrats, even though I'm neither. I'm an independent, and you know, I feel like that's a pretty strong statement right there. I am different. I also am taking no money from anybody. I've actually turned donations down. Most people
Thank
set
you.
up
We'll
accounts.
get to that, Randy.
Oh.
Just let's save that. And Katie, go ahead with your closing statement.
Hi, thank you. I just want to say that, you know, most of what I've heard tonight was pretty negative and kind of this everything is broken. And I just want to end with a little bit of hope and say that it's not. We have done some amazing work together over the past 4 years despite some really challenging circumstances. This job is really hard and rewarding and a privilege all at the same time. We have a wonderful community that is always there to help each other and come together. We have amazing county staff that shows up to provide great service. And as a commissioner, I am there to help fix things, but also to help be a part of all the wonderful things already happening in the community. And I just want to say thank you for letting me have these 4 years. It was an honor to serve, and I hope to get to serve you another 4.
Thank you very much. That closes our evening's planned round of questions. And I've asked all of you to stay for one last question. I have no idea what order I'm going to call on folks. We'll give each about a minute. But I've been thinking about it, and I know that campaigns are expensive and they're a whole lot of personal work. And so first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for the time and energy that they're putting into this effort. But there's been a lot of media attention lately that's been focused on the funding of races. The governor's is what pops into my mind. And this is all public information that's tracked in public records through what's called the C&Es, or Contributions and Expenditure Reporting. But when I reviewed those for the county commissioner candidates, I noted that some are missing. So I think there's different reasons for that, but I wondered if each of you would take about a minute to comment on how you are or plan to finance this campaign effort. I think are the other 5 candidates still with us? I believe so. And why don't we just start with you, Randy, because you sort of mentioned that in your closing statement.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for the opportunity to be here tonight. It's my first ever debate like this, so it's exciting and nerve-wracking and all of that, but you've made it really nice and I appreciate that. So thank you. Yeah, so my campaign, as I started to say earlier, I've actually turned donations down. And the reason being is, people have come up to me on the street even and say, oh, let me give you 20 bucks. I want to help. I tell them no. I've lived here long enough. I know how hard things are right now, and especially with inflation and everything else going on. So I looked at the rules, and I'm running a really grassroots campaign. So I don't want to win. I don't want to beat any of the people I'm running against by outspending them. I want to win by offering better alternatives. So I've actually limited my campaign. I won't spend more than $500, and you can spend, I think, $750 or so before you have to file and report all of that. But I'm not here to win that way. I want to win in a real grassroots way. So people telling people. And so that's how I've chosen to finance. And I'm blessed. I'm in a position where I can do that. So
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm just going to simply go across my screen, which I don't know whether is in the same order anybody else is in, but Katie, would you like to respond to that question?
Yeah, Jean, can you repeat the specific question again?
How are you, I said when I reviewed the CNEs for the county commissioner race that some were missing, not all. And so I just thought I'd give everybody an opportunity to comment on how they are or plan to finance the campaign.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so I do have a campaign committee. It is elect Katie Jacobson. It's the same committee I had when I ran the first time. You can look me up on ORSTAR and see all my expenses, which are all in donations, which are required by law to report. We are in a 7-day reporting period, so all my expenses are up to date except for things that have been, posted today. So most of my donations come from friends, family, citizens. Some I don't know personally, some that like my work and want me to continue doing that. I don't like spending money on campaigns. I feel that money is better spent in other community endeavors, but unfortunately, I think it costs money to be a competitive candidate.
Thank you. Mark.
I'm not familiar with what the CNEs are. I do have an account on ORSTAR. I've read all of those rules and regulations. So I'm not familiar what CNEs are.
CNE stands for contributions and expenditures that you list on ORSTAR.
Okay. So
are yours available?
Yes, they are. I do have an ORSTAR account set up. And those will, so you're shaking your head no. I'm sorry?
They aren't showing up yet. So you might want to check that.
I should check that. I do know I have an account set up. So anyway, I'm self-funded. I took some of my own personal money and put into the account, M. Watkins for Lincoln County Commissioner. And I just have about 5 or 6 friends that want to contribute a little bit. It's like Katie said, it's an unfortunate situation, but in order to be competitive, you have to do the signs and you've got to get out there in the community. I've got several fundraisers actually raised, not for me, but for other nonprofit organizations to go out and do some grassroots campaigning and talking and getting in the community. So those are where my funds are coming from.
Okay. Thank you. Ryan.
Yeah, so I self-funded my city council campaign in 2018, but of course at the city level, the expenses are extremely minimal. I think it's worth mentioning that it costs hundreds of dollars just to file. So that's the only real single footing that everyone's on is for each election cycle, there's a number of expenses that can really add up fast. And so I've asking for donations from those and received some of them. And I do my reporting every time I get a contribution on ORSTAR. I can't say I'm not an accountant. I think I'm doing it right because they didn't send me any nastygrams. But circling back, I work, to put it in perspective, I worked 5 to 6 weeks of my year just to pay my property tax bill for a 1,200 square foot house in town. So I think the couple of hundred or couple of $1,000 I spend on the election is small potatoes to the state and federal level. Now, would I be in favor of publicly financed elections? Yes. I don't think we're there yet, though.
Okay, thank you. Mitch.
All right. Yeah, I too wasn't interested in asking or looking for a bunch of donations. I was given a couple from some close friends. Most of what you'll see in my account are in-kind donations where I've known people that might run a website business or a print shop that have helped me out, and that was their way of donating.
Okay, thank you. Casey?
Thanks, Jean. Yeah, I mean, I think this question is relevant. League of Oregon Women Voters, dark spending, campaign money. I mean, it does have an effect, you guys, on how we get the message out to our communities. Carter, Mark, I think it's important to post that information about where the money's coming from. And, me too. I got to this point where I'm like, I'm going to have to ask for donations. I felt like I needed to. It wasn't really like what I wanted to do, but I felt that panic, right? Like, I got to get the word out. I got to get the word out. So I think it's something, hopefully in the future, that we can somehow remove systemically from the process so it isn't an issue. So we're not stressed to tank our savings, to get the word out to other individuals. I mean, I think in the big picture, we hopefully we can resolve this at a federal level and at a local level, but I'm thankful for the people that have donated. I did send letters to ask for those funds. So yeah, it's something we need to explore further. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
Yes, I'm totally funding my own campaign because I just don't feel comfortable to be beholden to anyone. I've never had any campaign financing through all my city council runs and my mayor's race, even though I've had opponents every time. I am concerned that Carter doesn't have any information down, and he did an expensive printing and mailing. I got his postcard in the mail. So that makes me nervous. And he was endorsed by Timber Unity, which is a PAC. And I definitely will not take any PAC money. It all should be disclosed. Everything should be disclosed. And I'm nervous. That's why I don't take any money at all. Don't want to be part of it.
Thank you. The purpose of this question was not aimed at any one person. It was for each of you to express your own feelings about reaching out and how to fund your campaign. But because your name has been mentioned several times, Carter, I'm going to let you go next.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Casey and Greg, for calling that out. Actually, you will find that everything is up to date, and it just hasn't been that I've hit in any threshold to report until now. And so everything's up to date. My treasurer has everything they need, and I think that you'll see that's in order. I've been getting things, going door to door, calling people. I've held a fundraiser at my restaurant. I'm holding a golf tournament soon. But yeah, I think you'll see no law has been broken. Everything is above board. And I think that you'll see, you log on there next time, you'll see what you need to see.
Thank you. And Walter?
Yes, I do have a campaign, and I have not hit the thresholds either. I do have the Orstar, and I intend on getting that up there. I'm self-funding my campaign at this time, not precluding asking for donations, but at this time I am self-funding.
Okay. Thank you. Believe me, I share everyone's reticence to ask campaign contributions. Until I ran for state legislature, and that race cost at that time, several years ago, over $1 million between the two of us. I certainly couldn't self-fund that, and it's only gone up from there. So we have a lot of things we need to talk about in the realm of election campaign law, and something League of Women Voters is very interested in. But thank you for all for being so candid. And thank you for being with us this evening. This closes our program, and anyone wanting to review parts of it will be rebroadcast.
Thank you for joining the League of Women Voters, Jean Cowan, and our guests. Running for Lincoln County Commissioner Position 3, Katie Jacobson, Randy J. Millette, Ryan Parker, and Mark Watkins. And Position 1, Walter Chuck, Greg Holland, Carter McEntee, Casey L. Miller, and Mitch Parsons.